My dad demanded I hand my new house to my sister, so I exposed her bankruptcy, her fraud in my name, and shut the door on my family forever. By the way, I'm Talia, 29 years old. After years of hard work, sticking to a budget, and saving up, I finally bought my first home, a cozy 3-bedroom place in a quiet neighborhood just on the outskirts of the city. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine, and it feels amazing to say that after all the sacrifices I've made. No handouts, no co-signers, no inheritance, just my own hard work. Maybe that's why my family isn't exactly over the moon about it. I've always been the responsible one, never asking for anything, while my younger sister, Mia, has been the golden child. While I was watching her dance around in ballet classes, I was juggling 2 part-time jobs just to afford my own car. That's how it's always been in our family. My parents focused on making her happy more than anything else. So when I finally invited them over to show off my new place, I thought they'd be proud. But when my dad stepped into the living room, he frowned and asked, "Why didn't you get a bigger place so Mia could live here too?" I thought he was joking at first, but he was dead serious. Then my mom chimed in, suggesting Mia pick out a room to redecorate, as if we had bought the place together. Mia started wandering around my home like she owned the place, critiquing the paint and sneering at my furniture. Finally, I asked what was going on, and that's when my dad dropped the big one. I should just give the house to Mia since she wants to start a family, and I don't really need all this space since I'm single. I blinked, thinking I must have misheard him, but nope. I told him there was no way. This was my house, bought with my own money, and Mia had never really held down a full-time job or contributed anything while growing up. I figured that would put an end to it. But then he leaned in closer and said coldly, "If you don't help your sister now, don't expect to be in my will." At that moment, I calmly walked over to my desk, pulled out a folder, and handed it to him. He started flipping through the pages, and I could see the color leave his face. It was Mia's bankruptcy paperwork. After he read it, silence fell over the room. My mom rushed over, snatched the folder from his hands, and gasped, "Where did you get this?" I stood my ground. It's public record. I found out when she tried to open a credit line in my name. Yeah, that's right. Mia, the family's perfect little angel, tried to get a $15,000 loan using my identity. The lender flagged it and called me to verify. I froze the report, got a lawyer, and kept the evidence. I didn't confront her back then, because I wanted to keep the peace. I just wanted to build my life. But when my dad demanded I give my house to someone who tried to commit identity fraud against me, that was it. Mia went from red to pale, and then she blew up. "I only did that because I knew you'd never help me. You're rich and smug and always rub it in." My dad roared, "How dare you invade your sister's private life? You've betrayed family trust." That's when I laughed, bitterly and sharper than I intended. "She tried to steal from me, and you're mad because I protected myself?" What followed was 2 hours of gaslighting and emotional blackmail. My dad was all about family sticking together, while my mom was in tears, claiming it was driving us apart. Meanwhile, Mia was lounging on my couch, texting someone with this smug grin on her face. Just like that, she popped up and said, "You won't last long in this house anyway. You're not built for being alone." That's when it hit me. I'd made the right call. They had no clue I'd already changed the locks for safety. They had no idea the house was securely under a private trust, shielding it from any family claims or pressure. And they also didn't know I'd taken my parents off the emergency contact list earlier that day and added my best friend instead. Just 3 days after that explosive scene in my living room, I got a text from my cousin Jenna asking, "Why is your dad saying you tried to bankrupt Mia? He told everyone at Grandma's that you forged papers to ruin your sister's life. What's up with that?" That's when it dawned on me. They weren't just upset, they were launching a smear campaign. Honestly, I wasn't shocked. That's how my parents roll. If you don't play along, they don't debate, they slander. They turn themselves into victims, twisting the narrative until they're the martyrs, and I'm the bad guy. They were spreading falsehoods about how I viciously attacked Mia out of jealousy. At first, I stayed silent. I didn't reply to the texts, the fake tears, or even the subtle threats. But when Jenna told me my dad mentioned I was cut out of the family will, I knew it was time to show my hand. The thing is, they didn't know that there isn't a will anymore. 6 months ago, after that loan fraud scare, I met with an estate attorney and set up my own legal trust to ensure that none of my assets would end up with my parents or sister. I even managed to get my grandmother, the one sensible person in the family, to check her own documents. She was taken aback to find out that my dad had tried to pressure her into signing over her house to Mia for her future family. So, we took action. Grandma updated her will and quietly named me as her sole medical power of attorney and financial executor. Not because I asked her to, but because I was the only one who never begged her for cash. When my dad found out, he stormed into her house demanding to know what was going on. What are you thinking? You're giving everything to that ungrateful one. Mia has kids to think about. Grandma met his gaze firmly and replied, Mia has terrible credit, unpaid debts, and a nasty attitude. Talia brings me peace. I'll take peace any day. Things really heated up at my nephew's birthday party. I didn't plan on going, but Jenna convinced me to at least swing by for an hour. As soon as I walked in, the room went quiet. Mia was there, arms crossed, glaring at me like I'd just stolen the show. Then, in front of 30 people, my dad shouted, There she is, the daughter, who thinks she's too good for her family. I just smiled calmly and leaned in, making sure everyone heard me say, Funny coming from the guy who tried to bully his daughter out of her own home. Want me to show the text messages where you threatened me? I've printed them out. The silence was heavy. I added, Oh, and how about sharing with everyone how Mia tried to take out a loan in my name or how she had her wages garnished last month? Whispers started spreading even before I could finish my drink. Mia yelled, You're ruining everything, and stormed out. My dad shouted, You'll regret this, while my mom started crying, mumbling something about family shame. But I didn't regret it, not even a little. Sometimes the truth doesn't just set you free, it can burn down the whole rotten house behind you. A week went by since the party, when I laid everything bare for the family. The fallout was immediate. I received texts from distant relatives saying things like, Did that really happen? And I always wondered why Mia never had a job. Good for you, Talia. It's about time someone said it. I ignored most messages. Those who stayed silent when I was mistreated didn't deserve my attention now. But a few, like my cousin Jenna and my grandmother, reached out with genuine concern. They had seen how long I'd been wronged. They weren't surprised, just relieved. Then one evening, I heard a knock. I peeked through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. My mom and dad stood on my front porch, dressed too nicely for a casual visit. It was the kind of nice that screamed they wanted something. I opened the door halfway, without inviting them in. Hi, honey, my mom said with a weak smile. Can we come in? Dad quickly added, his voice clipped. What do you want? I asked flatly. They exchanged glances before my dad sighed and went straight to it. Things haven't been great. Your sister's apartment fell through, and we had to co-sign. She's 2 months behind on rent now, and the landlord only gave her a few more days because we co-signed. But after the bankruptcy, he pulled the plug. I waited. My mom went on, We were hoping just for a little while until we're back on our feet. Maybe we could stay here? A few weeks tops. I let the silence linger. This was the same guy who told me to give my house to Mia, the same woman who suggested Mia decorate a room like I was just a landlord for their golden child. Suddenly being single didn't seem like a problem for them anymore. I had my response ready. I didn't slam the door, or scream, or cry. Instead, I handed them a folder. Dad frowned as he flipped it open, and Mom leaned in to read the front page. It was a formal legal notice drafted with my lawyer, signed and notarized. It detailed Mia's attempt to apply for a loan in my name, the texts and voicemails from my dad threatening to cut me out, and a statement from my estate attorney confirming my home and assets were protected. It also had a clause stating that, due to ongoing emotional and financial manipulation, my parents and sister weren't allowed on the property without written consent. You're serious? My dad asked, his face darkening. After everything we've done for you? I finally let out a bitter laugh. What exactly have you done for me, Dad? Other than favor Mia since we were kids, call me selfish for achieving something in my life and trying to take my home like I'm just a placeholder in her story. My mom tried to play the pity card. We're your parents, Talia. Don't you think you're being a bit dramatic? We made mistakes, sure, but cutting us off like this? That's cruel. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. You called me dramatic when I asked for fairness. You called me selfish when I bought my own house. You threatened me when I said no. And now you're broke and suddenly want to talk family? That was it. They fell silent for a moment until my dad muttered the words that sealed the deal. You took everything from us. You poisoned Grandma against us. You turned the family against us. You've ruined Mia's future. That's when I realized they would never change. Even at their lowest, they weren't looking for forgiveness. They just wanted control. I didn't take anything, I replied, my voice steady. I just stopped giving. Then I turned around, went back inside, locked the door, and closed the blinds. For the first time in years, I felt peace that wasn't tainted by guilt. As for the epilogue, 6 months later, my house is still mine. It's quiet, peaceful, and bright. I planted a garden in the backyard, something I never thought I'd actually be able to do. I started painting again, and even adopted a golden retriever named Soul, who curls up next to me on the couch while I read. My grandma's doing great. We have dinner together every Sunday, just the two of us. She's even started sending me hilarious memes, often poorly cropped and full of typos, but I cherish every single one. As for Mia, I heard she's been moving around to a few more places and burning some bridges along the way. My parents are still trying to convince the rest of the family that I cut them off completely. Let them think what they want. The truth is, I've spent a lot of my life trying to be the perfect daughter, the reliable one, the helper, the fixer. But all that really got me was feeling used, tossed aside, and unfairly blamed. So I made a choice. I chose my own freedom. Have you ever had to step away from family just to keep your peace? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories from Reddit. Also, I'd love to know where you're watching from.